I think that when you look at the productivity that he's had, I think he's absolutely somebody who, if they wanted him to be the primary ball carrier, not split any time, do anything like that, I think Tony Pollard could do it, and he could be good at it. The fact of the matter is you are going to see a little bit of regression from his 5.1 yards per carry over the entirety of his career. That's just not going to be sustainable if he is now the primary back. He's not a change-up. They're not picking their spots for him. He's going to be the guy who's going to have to take some carries that previously were probably more in line for stuff that Zeke was going to have to do and stuff that aren't going to present the same types of profits. He still, I think, is going to be an efficient ball carrier relative to the workload that he gets, but this is somebody who, has averaged 5.3 yards per carry, 4.3, 5.5, 5.2. I don't think we're getting 5 yards a carry this year from Tony Pollard as the primary guy.
I mean, that would put him exceptionally high in the league. Although I was stunned at the amount of 5 yard per carry ball handlers I saw.
Yeah, it seems like this yards per carry is going up.
Doesn't it?
Seems like it.
Like last year,
you average 4, and it's like, okay, whoop-de-do.
Yeah, you're
like Emmett.
That's a troll towards Zack. We don't need diehard Cowboy fans getting ticked off at you.
They Tolo. They heard Zack get mad yesterday, I'm sure. No, but I think that what you're seeing there, Chop, is, and the 5 yards per carry, how frequently seeing that, it's, again, there's not as many volume runners anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's just the nature of these read options and some of the different things, the favorable looks, the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay style of attacking defenses with the run is going to be, we're not going to line things up and run this unless it's more profitable for us. Or we're going to hit you with the pass game, spread things out, and then hit you with one of these draws or these toss sweeps or whatever else. And so I think that's why you're seeing it, is just because of the lack of efficiency. But then again, you get guys like Derrick Henry, who, has had a couple seasons where he's carrying the ball, damn near 300 times or going over 300 times and still being really productive and still having 5 yards a carry. He had, in 2019, 303 carries, 378 in 2020, and averaged over 5 yards a carry both years. But I just don't think that's sustainable for Tony Pollard.
How many carries do you think, if he's healthy, he'll get? Zeke Elliott, throughout his career, rookie year, 322, then 242, 304, 301, 244, 237, 231.
I will say, if he's healthy for the entire year, I'm saying somewhere in the range of 250 to 270.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's not nothing.
No. And their plan, as Broadus has said, run him into the ground. You franchise him. Do not give him a long-term deal. You franchise him, you run him into the ground, and then move on to the next. That's the way it works.
250.
He's 26.
Would put him 9th last year in attempts. 270 would put him 6th.
And he's never had 200 in his career. Last year he had 193.
Which is interesting because 270 is over 17 games. It's like 15, 16 carries a game. It's a different era, and that would put him right near the top of the league in terms of workload. The next name in line for a little bit of regression, and these next couple ones might hurt for Cowboys fans. DeMarcus Lawrence. He's 31 now. He's a guy who has declined as a pass rusher in general. One of the things I know that they've worked on with DeMarcus as he's gotten, a little bit up there in age and maybe he's losing a little bit of his speed. They feel like guys are sitting on that cross chop move of him. They want him to try and develop an inside swim or just something where he can get to the quarterback quicker. Some sort of inside move to beat tackles, beat guards, get through the A or B gap and get to the quarterback quicker.
I know we always talk about pressures with him and how his sack numbers are deceiving, but he has not had 7 sacks since 2018. That's something. You can give me the pressure numbers. You haven't had 7 sacks since 2018.
Let me ask you this: he's not so every year this happens around the league, somebody is released in camp at the end. He's a cut, right? It's a cap casualty.
Yep.
He's not in danger of that this year because of his contract, right? It would be next year.
Yeah, I would not believe that he'd be a cap
at the end
casualty.
of camp. At the end of camp, where they just surprisingly release him. He's not that guy, right?
No.
Okay.
And so that wouldn't be a guy that they would move on from. Look, he's still a good football player. There are better team with him out there. That I know a lot of people.
So he's going to regress from 6 sacks.
I think that he's just naturally going to regress in all areas. He's going to be declining.
Yeah.
He is still a good football player. He's still really strong against the run. He is a above average pass rusher, but the tools are starting to wane. He's just getting older and more banged up, so you're going to see a little bit of that. And then
he was number 1 in run stop win rate.
He's a very good run defender.
Number 1 in the league, 36% run stop win rate, highest in the league. Max Crosby was 2 at 33%. Like he's fantastic at it.
And that should make up for the lack of sacks. That matters. That counts.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else who I think is likely to continue to regress as they did last year.
Dak.
Stop it. And I think that they are very possibly entering their final season of their career is Zack Martin. And I think that, I think he's still a really good guard, and I think he'll have a really good season. You started to see things were catching up with him a little bit last year. And I think that, not necessarily that it's a guarantee, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to the end of the season and he hangs it up. He is getting to that point where it's going to start becoming an evaluation for him at the end of every year. And then the last one, Zack Martin was more just an offshoot from the DeMarcus Lawrence thing.
And he had a 73 PFF grade. He is 32 years old.
The last one is Dorrance Armstrong. Dorrance Armstrong got a little bit of, I think, some empty sack numbers last year with those 8.5. I don't think he was as good as those numbers look on their face. And so I think he'll probably, because there was a lot of them that were just cleanup sacks or free rushes or whatever. He was not just dominating out there as a pass rusher. And I think that Dorrance Armstrong is a guy who I think he'll probably play about the same as he always has. It's just, it's going to look more, that's going to come back down to earth. He's going to look more probably like 4 or 5 sacks. And as we transition into guys that can take a step forward.
And his PFF grade was a 62.
Ooh. It's
about
all right.
league
I mean,
average.
that's not terrible. You could deal with that.
But 8.5 sacks is not a league average pass rusher,
right?
Typically.
No. Yeah.
As we transition over to the positive side, the progression guys, this is another reason why Dorrance Armstrong will probably see his numbers go down. It's Sam Williams, who, as long as he can keep his head straight, and as long as he can, and
Dylan Brooks moments.
I mean, you want a little bit of it. I think they wanted that edge. That's one of the reasons why they brought him in here, is they want some of the nastiness that he brings.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful to completely coach it out of him to just, hey, pull up, because then you're potentially changing his play style a little bit. That's how he plays. He's just really aggressive, hair on fire. And he had
a 71 PFF grade.
He is a very good run defender as well. Somebody who showed he's got the tools to be a good pass rusher. I think that you're going to frequently see the end combinations are DeMarcus Lawrence and Sam Williams instead of Dorrance Armstrong, and then Parsons rushing from somewhere. But I think Sam Williams is going to have a step up year. The next name here, and we referenced it a little bit earlier, but Damone Clark. I think that Damone Clark was a little bit lost last year. There was no expectation, I think, from most people that he was going to play at all. And then he ended up playing 10 games. He ended up starting in 5 of them. And I think you saw flashes of the ability and some of the encouraging things. He's just going to take a little bit of time to get his feet under him. And one of the things they really love about him, and I know you guys always say, it's like saying, she's got a great personality. But one of the things they do love about him is they think that he's going to be a really positive force on defense in terms of culture and locker room. And specifically, they think Damone is going to be a good accountability buddy, maybe, for Micah Parsons. And so I think that
accountability buddy.
Yeah, just somebody to,
for Micah or with?
Does Micah need that?
No, I think Micah in general is just
that. When you say that, just so you know, around here, I think of Dez babysitting.
Okay, yeah. Not that, not Dez babysitting, but a little bit more like teaching him how to. Micah's a big kid. Damone is already considered a pro. Damone wore 18 at LSU. That's a very revered number as like the culture guy. Damone and Micah share the same agent. I think they just feel like, hey, Micah, where you're this freak and everything else, and you're still, learning to be a pro a little bit. I think they think Damone can help bring him into that, and that Damone will be a really positive influence on that. And then the last name in terms of the positive progression, and I know this name burned me last year, so
Jalen
Tolbert. And I don't know that he's going to be, a world beater. It cannot be worse than last year. I think that it shows you
He's
how
getting
much
rave minicamp and OTA reviews.
Look, Jacob, when Jacob played middle school football, the very first time he played football, he was playing wide receiver in 7th grade.
Smoked them.
And he would get out there to the line of scrimmage and every single time look over it. That was the one thing he was on top of that, if nothing else, was turn it over and checking with the ref that he was on the line of scrimmage. Jalen Tolbert was making mistakes that my 7th grader wasn't making the first time he stepped on a football field in Green Bay. When he lines up off sides, he didn't know this and that. I think he just became so overwhelmed, and this year it's going to have to be better.